Recently, I uploaded a video on my favorite part of Security Breach, the endo section, and that video did fairly well, at least by my channel standards. So I figured that the best way to follow that up was to upload the exact opposite, a video discussing my least favorite part of Security Breach. Originally, this video was going to be about the West Arcade, because every time I reach that section, the amount of fun I am having hits the floor. But unfortunately, it only comes in second place to the real worst part of Security Breach, the infamous Burn Trap boss fight. This part of the game was absolutely hated upon launch, and for good reason. After the near universally loved ending of FNaF 6, bringing Afton back was a terrible decision. Fortunately, we now know that this ending isn't canon, and that Burn Trap either A, doesn't exist, or B, was actually the mimic the whole time. And now that the main reason people hated this part when it first came out no longer matters, you may think that this fight might actually be good. No, this part still absolutely sucks. Let's start with a breakdown of how the fight is supposed to work. You are in a room across Burn Trap. The rooms are connected by two hallways, each with a powered security door. There is also a vent that connects the two rooms. Burntrap will go to one of three monitors and put his hand on it to try and take control of Freddy, who is also here, I guess. If he succeeds, Freddy will become hostile and relentlessly chase the player. When this happens, you must go to the corresponding monitor and push a button to set Burntrap on fire. Chica, Monty, and Roxy will also attempt to make their way into the room, with Chica and Roxy coming in from either of the two hallways and Monty coming in through the vent. To get rid of Chica and Monty, you just have to shut the door on them. To get rid of Roxy, you must climb inside Freddy and use Chica's voice box to scare her off. But there's one last threat to deal with. Midway through the fight, not fight, the blob will show up and attempt to grab you with its tentacles by reaching through one of the vents in the floor and ceiling. Got all of that? Good. Because I lied. That's not how this fight works. That's how it's supposed to work. Every single mechanic has some kind of problem. For starters, you are given way too much time to stop Burn Trap when he tries to control Freddy. This fight is trying to mimic the style of old FNaF, and in those games, the tension came from the knowledge that you had to balance multiple tasks at once. And if you were even a little bit too slow, you got jump scared. But here, Burn Trap takes an eternity to actually turn Freddy against you. And the fact that there's only three monitors means you can locate him in a fraction of the time you are given. I mean, just look at this footage. Burntrap tries to control Freddy, and I think that Burntrap is in the center room, so I pressed the wrong button before opening the vent because Monty's gone. My immediate next priority is to check the right hall because that's what I was planning to do before I was interrupted, and I somehow don't even realize that I didn't stop Burntrap. But I hear Monty in the vent again, so I run to shut the door, and I notice that Freddy is being possessed. So I close the door on Monty and press the button again. When that obviously doesn't work, I panic and immediately go to press the other two buttons, starting with the left one before finally going to hit the right one, which is where Burn Trap actually was. It took me over 20 seconds to press the button, and I still survived. You know how in FNaF 2 you have a split second to put on the Freddy head? This is like the opposite of that. That line sounded so much better in my head, oh my god. I was originally going to say that Chica and Monty are the only good things about this fight, but they have the same problem of taking forever to reach you. And Monty makes a very loud sound cue whenever he attacks. Based on everything I just said, you might assume that my main problem with this part is that it's too easy. But no, and I imagine that many of you know what I'm going to talk about next. Roxy single-handedly brings this section from bad to awful. The idea of having to use Chica's voice box to scare her off seems like an okay idea, except that this is not explained. The only direction that the player is given is to hide, from which the player will obviously assume that they just need to climb inside Freddy or go inside the nearby charging station. There is zero indication that you need to use the voice box. Also, Freddy will just randomly decide that he needs to go to the charging station, and when he does, he will force the player to leave. Like what happens here, when Roxy is on her way and I'm just screwed over by horrible timing. And I couldn't have used the voice box yet since you have to wait for Roxy to start charging before you can scare her off. And that's not even the worst part. The blob seems to work fine at first, except that the game just straight up doesn't explain how the blob works at all. So there's a decent chance that the blob just catches you off guard and kills you without giving you a fair chance. But compared to the blob's other problem, that's mild. You see, it is possible for the blob to get you after you have already won the fight. The hitbox just never goes away, so it is entirely possible to lose after having already won. I didn't go through the effort of getting footage of this on the most recent patch myself, but another much more popular YouTuber known as Backseat Streams did that for me when he tested to see if a bunch of glitches were still in the game. And sure enough, this one is still here. I'll put a card going to his video so you can go check it out yourself. And when you die, you are sent back not to the start of the fight, but to the elevator, meaning that every time you lose, you have to get past the endoskeletons outside again, which is just the most tedious thing in the world. Based on everything I just said, you might have come to the conclusion that this fight is ridiculously hard. But no, this is actually by far the easiest part of the entire game. All you have to do to win this fight is get inside Freddy, walk up to the doorway of a hall Roxy or Chica is coming through, and then leave Freddy. You see, the animatronics can only attack one at a time, and Chica and Roxy can only leave if you use the voice box to close the door. But neither can get past Freddy, and the blob never spawns. For some reason, this incredibly overpowered strategy has been dubbed Fredor, and allows you to get past this section with ease. And yes, this still works on the most recent patch. In fact, all footage shown in this video has been on the most recent patch. Nothing from this fight has been fixed. You could say that Steel Wool didn't change any gameplay problems with this fight because they just wanted the patches to get rid of glitches, but they added a post-6 a.m. save station in the first patch, so they're more than willing to change gameplay. So why didn't they fix this fight? Seriously, decrease the time it takes the animatronics to reach the door, explain how to get rid of Roxy, give the player a fair warning for the blob, make it so that Freddy doesn't randomly eject the player, and make Burntrap take control of Freddy faster. Or, at the bare minimum, make it so that the blob despawns once Burntrap is defeated and that the animatronics can get past Freddy. All of that should be pretty simple and would make this fight so much better. Thank you so much for watching. If you hit the like and subscribe buttons, I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, that's about all I want to say. See you later.